So this is the common narrative that I see on social media from the white men and black women who agree on hating black men. There's more black men in prison per capita. Let me explain this for you stupid MFs who find any and every way to hate black men. Per capita represents the average amount per person within a group. Since we're talking about incarcerated/prison, that's the group. While total population refers to the overall number of individuals in that group, okay? Essentially, per capita gives you a value per person, whereas total population gives you the raw number of people. So yes, there's more white men incarcerated than black men. And then, of course, you got the onion faces, screwed up faces, because they mad that I bring this stuff to the light. So right here from Prison Policy Initiative, you guys can look this up yourselves, released 2024. How many people are locked up in the United States? The US locks up more people per capita than any other nation at a staggering rate of 583 per 100,000 residents. But to end the mass incarceration, we must first consider where and why 1.9 million people are confined nationwide. I just said 1.9 million people are incarcerated in the whole United States, okay? There's approximately 340 million people living in the United States. And I'm telling you that 1.9 million are incarcerated. Taking it a step further, if there's about 22 to 23 million black men living in the United States, and of course, don't forget the juveniles, because I know people like to say, well, that includes black boys as well. Yes, there are some juveniles that are incarcerated as well. So about 22 to 23 million black men and black boys living in the United States. So even if black men were the 1.9 million on their own, that's still not half of black men that will be incarcerated in the United States. Racial disparities in the criminal legal system. We already know that black men are over-policed. It's been documented. That's why we have the most overturn of sentences. The system of mass incarceration particularly targets black people, who are 13% of the population, but are 38% of the people in jails and prisons. And this is what it looks like. The racial disparities, and this is from 2022. So black people as a whole, there were 911 black people incarcerated for every 100,000. So even with me saying that 911 people out of 100,000, that's a lot, which is leading, but you still got all these black people that are free. So I'm not refuting the fact that black people have per capita, right? For every 100,000, we have the most people incarcerated. But if I'm telling you that there's only 1.9 million people incarcerated, that's a small percentage of the black community as a whole, which is teetering on 49 million now in 2024 from the Federal Bureau of Prisons. So if you see here, they update these stats weekly, and they're just talking about inmates, not the whole, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. So right here, of the inmates in prison, just federal prisons alone, you see white folks have 56.6%, blacks 38.9%, Native American 2.9%, and Asian 1.6%. Okay, so there it is again. There's more white people in federal prisons than black people. We're not talking about per capita. I'm just talking about the total raw numbers. Pause. So when I say the total number of 1.9 million people incarcerated, 1,566 state prisons, 98 federal prisons, 3,116 local jails, 1,323 juvenile correctional facilities, 142 immigration detention facilities, and 80 Indian County jails, as well as in military prisons, civil commitment centers, state psychiatric hospitals, and prisons in the U.S. territories. So the reason why I read that off is to let people know that I'm just not specifically talking about 1.9 million people in federal prison. I'm talking about everybody incarcerated in the whole United States. So that's why there needs to be context when you have black women and also white men who hate black men. They tend to align on this point that there are more black men in prison than white men. No. If you lined everybody that is incarcerated up one by one, there would be more white people incarcerated than black people. Now, per capita, yes, there are more black people because we only represent 13 to 14% of the U.S. population, but we are represented in prison. 38% of us are, the total population of prisoners, the 1.9 million. We represent 38.9% of that. So yes, the argument of per capita is true, but also the argument of there being more white people in prison is also true as well. So we have to put things into context, and I'm just giving you guys this information so you'll have it when you get into these arguments and you hear a black woman or a white man bring this up, because that's the only group that I see using this talking point. Okay? Hopefully y'all appreciate that information.